ReviewTyme is the home for all things theme parks. Stay up to date with our videos by subscribing and tapping the bell icon. Universal Studios Hollywood is more than just a theme park. It's one of the world's biggest working movie studios, with a few rides attached. In the few times I've been lucky enough to visit the park over the last 20 odd years, it's seen some incredible changes, and always seems to have major construction ongoing every time I visit. The true pillar for the park though is still the studio tram tour, which has been delighting guests in one way or another for over 100 years. But do the rest of the attractions add enough to make the park worth a visit? Let's find out. For ReviewTyme, I'm Luke, and this is our review of Universal Studios Hollywood. Family rides, 7 out of 10. For a park not exactly dedicated solely to rides, Universal Studios Hollywood has a reasonably strong mix of fun, family attractions, and things like the upcoming Secret Life of Pets ride and the rumored Super Nintendo World will do wonders in making this park feel more complete. Flight of the Hippogriff is a mainstay in all Hogsmeade lands around the world. Whilst I suspect this is mostly to do with it being a cheap, second, family-friendly addition to the land, it's still a great way to get an awesome view of Hogsmeade, Hogwarts, and even a little bit of Hollywood. Seemingly no Universal is safe from the yellow blobs that are the Minions and Despicable Me, Minion Mayhem. This is the exact same enjoyable, if not confusing, simulator ride as in Orlando and Japan, and like Japan, the ride has an attached mini-land full of some carnival games, a small spinner ride, and a chance for your kids to get absolutely soaked. The park also has some strong stepping stone rides to build your children up for something bigger, such as the Simpsons ride, which is an awesomely fun and hilarious simulator ride, which feels incredibly true to the feel and humor of the show, as well as Transformers the ride, which has some truly jaw-dropping moments and effects, and shows that Universal can use a great mix of screen and practical effects when they actually feel like it. Finally, one new don't miss addition is the Kung Fu Panda adventure in the DreamWorks Theatre, which features some spectacular effects that truly bring the film to life. Thrill rides, 7 out of 10. Whilst Universal Studios Hollywood arguably has a much weaker lineup of thrill rides compared to most other Universals around the world, features just enough to fill up your day with a handful of thrilling experiences. Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey is a marvel of modern theme park attractions, featuring a truly immersive mix of practical and digital effects that combine to make it truly feel like you are flying around exploring Hogwarts. Universal Hollywood recently updated their Jurassic Park ride to become the world's first Jurassic World attraction. Whilst the ride has some cool moments, it's arguably a downgrade from the original, missing key elements like the jaw-dropping reveal through the gates and big, practical set pieces like the car falling. The ride just feels a little bit empty, and things like the T-Rex and Indominus Rex battle at the end probably sounded awesome on paper, but don't quite work in person. The park also features a sadly inferior version of Revenge of the Mummy the ride, and even has a permanent walk-through horror attraction with The Walking Dead The Experience. Experiences, 9 out of 10. Universal Studios Hollywood has what I would call the greatest theme park experience in the world, the historic Backlot Studio Tram Tour. Being placed in one of the world's busiest film studios allows for an offering that nowhere else in the world can quite match. You never know what or even who you might see on any given day. Being driven through sets from famous films such as War of the Worlds and one of my all-time favorites, Back to the Future, plus all of the added mini attractions on this hour-long tram tour, is what truly makes this park worth a visit. Throughout the number of times I've visited the park over the years, the tram tour has seen so many changes. I was lucky enough to experience the original King Kong, the collapsing bridge, and of course the utterly bizarre Fast and Furious Extreme Close-Up. Since then though, all of these have either been closed or replaced, and not necessarily for the better. King Kong 3D is indicative of the path Universal seems to be going down, much to the disappointment of a lot of fans. Whilst the experience is interesting, a purely screen-based 3D attraction can't hold a candle to the previous, fully realized practical King Kong ride-through that sadly burnt down in a fire. One other disappointment on the tour is Fast and Furious Supercharged, which is the new finale to the tour. Whilst arguably better than the old mummy spinning tunnel, it further proves Universal's current disappointing reliance on screens, and here the experience somehow feels even less realistic than King Kong battling a dinosaur. But don't let these few low points detract from the spectacle that is the tour. It still has a ton of awesome experiences such as Jaws and my personal favourite Earthquake, as well as the chance to see where true movie magic is made. Entertainment, 8 out of 10. Parks like this for me are more about the experiences and entertainment than the rides. Universal Studios Hollywood has always billed itself as a place where you could glimpse behind the curtains and see where movie magic took place. Whilst it's a shame the old special effects stages with the variety of 3 mini shows is being replaced by the one catch-all show, the new show in the castle stage still brings a good mix of a behind-the-scenes look at movie making and a little bit of comedy. Now I've said it once and I'll say it again, Waterworld is my favourite theme park stunt show in the world. It may even be my favourite non-Disney theme park show, full stop. Just be aware that the splash zone section warnings are not to be taken lightly. Also, if you're in the park and just after a good "aww," make sure you check out Animal Actors. Staff, 8 out of 10. The staff as a whole at USH are great, with a clear dedication to the park and its guests. There always felt like there was a team member nearby who could answer any question that you had. There was a couple of times on our most recent visit we were told things from team members that turned out not to be true, leading to some wasted time in queues or waiting for food. Luckily, these handful of interactions were rare, and there were a ton more positive experiences with the staff than negative ones. Theming, 7 out of 10. Universal Studios Hollywood theming is exactly what it needs to be. Fully immersive in some areas, and clearly a movie-making trick in others, with recent additions mostly going down the fully immersive route, which brings about a new sense of cohesion and strength of the theming. Areas such as Springfield and Harry Potter are completely realized, and really feel like you're stepping into those franchises. The height levels of Springfield's theming really bring some nice immersion to the area. It feels great to get the clogger from Krusty Burger and wash it down with a nice squishy from the Quickie Mart. Hogsmeade here is as immaculately themed as everywhere else, though there are a few parts of the land where you can see out into the Hollywood Hills and beyond, which is a small issue thematically, though the view is so spectacular, it can be forgiven. The lower lot is a little weaker though once you get past the world-themed Jurassic World area, with the classic tan show-building studio park trope still being strong. Merchandise, 8 out of 10. My love for so many of the properties present at Universal has always made me a sucker for their merchandise. My Back to the Future metal lunchbox still comes with me to work every day since buying it back in 2015. Every franchise featured in the park has a ton of merchandise available both in the themed area as well as the exit and City Walk gift shops. And of course, there is plenty of Harry Potter merchandise available for all you Potterheads. There is a strong collection of Universal Studios branded merchandise as well, though it was a little hard to find something specific to Universal Hollywood and not just Universal Parks in general. It took me a bit of searching, but I eventually left with some small pieces of branded merchandise such as some pins, a magnet, and a mug. Affordability, 6 out of 10. Universal Studios is not a cheap park to visit for the day by any means, using surge ticket pricing similar to Disneyland. But even though the day we most recently visited on was incredibly quiet and featured super short park hours of 10 to 6, we still had to pay the middle ticket price of $119 per person plus tax. Of course, the park offers plenty of upcharges on top of that, including Express Pass and even a VIP studio tour. Food and merchandise are about what you'd expect to pay, and same as always, there seems to be a nice Harry Potter tax on any items purchased from the Wizarding World, compared to the same items from a different franchise. The true value of the park though is in the studio tour, not the rides. So if the tour really doesn't interest you, you might find it hard to justify the asking price for entry. Atmosphere, 8 out of 10. The atmosphere of Universal Studios Hollywood truly feels alive. And even though you know it will probably never happen, you always have this feeling that a big A-list celebrity may just walk past you at any minute. But even if a celebrity doesn't, characters surely will. They're everywhere throughout the park, from your favorite DreamWorks characters, people hanging out of the windows, and plenty more. I have a strong memory of my visit to the park in 2008, where Groucho Marx decided to walk arm in arm with my grandmother, with her getting the fright of her life after a good 30 seconds when she realized it wasn't one of her grandchildren who had linked arms with her. The park has a much more international feel than Disney down the road with its guests. It was great to walk around sharing some amazing moments and memories with fellow guests from all around the world. Services, 8 out of 10. If handled incorrectly, Universal Hollywood could be a nightmare to explore. Luckily, they know what they are doing, and great, consistent signage throughout the park helps explain the confusing multi-level layout. The Starcade is still an oddity in the theme park world, taking around 10 minutes of escalator riding to get you between the upper and lower lots. We recommend trying to minimize the number of times you make this trip, and we only ever make it once in a visit. One thing I do love that Universal still has around are the wait and showtime boards. In the world of smartphones and apps, these are dropping off in popularity, but the ease of access and seeing everything in one place still makes them a go-to for me, even with the app in my pocket. There are a few upcharge ways to enjoy your trip, including the classic Universal Express Pass, which has never really been required if you choose your visit dates wisely, as well as an experience I've always wanted to do, the VIP Studio Tour, which lets you get off and walk around the studio backlot in parts, as well as taking you to places unseen by regular day guests. I just wish the experience wasn't around $500 Australian for the day. Final thoughts. Without the studio tour, Universal Studios Hollywood would be an incredibly underwhelming park. But the studio tour alone makes it one of the most unique parks in the world to visit, with everything else just being the icing on the cake. I'm incredibly excited to see what the future holds for this park, with plenty of construction underway and plenty more exciting rumors floating around. ReviewTyme's final score for Universal Studios Hollywood is 75 out of 100. For ReviewTyme, I'm Luke. Thanks for watching, liking, and subscribing.